Hello, Grammar 2 people. I am glad to see you again. We are starting week 27, and we'll start just like we always do. We'll start with classifying our sentences. And so if you look over at your week 27 classwork, you'll see the sentences that we're going to work on. I will go through the first one with you in detail, and then I'm just going to do the question answer flow, and you will mark the answers. I have given you the sheet there that has the answers on it, but do not look at it right now, all right? You can check your answers with it afterwards, but I would like you to go ahead and work on it, work on your answers by yourself to begin with, all right? So let's go ahead and do the first sentence, and it says, he yelled excitedly to his friends from the window. Okay, so first question, who yelled? And the answer is he. He is not a noun, it is a pronoun, so that is your subject pronoun, SP. All right, next question is, what did he do? He yelled. Okay, so that's the verb. That tells what he did. Yelled, how? He yelled excitedly. It describes the verb, so it's an adverb. The answer to, or the word to, is a preposition. So we say to what? We say friends, to friends. So friends is the object of the preposition. We say from, which is also a preposition. From what? From the window. So the OP, or the object of the preposition, is window. All right, so now let's go back and get the words that we missed. Okay, we missed the word his. That is a possessive. It is a pronoun, so it's a possessive pronoun, PP. And then we have our article adjective over the word the. Let's go to our sentence pattern in the front of the sentence, and it's the same one as you've had all year. It's subject, noun, dash verb over P1, pattern 1, because in this word, in this sentence, the subject noun comes before the verb. Then we say check, and we're checking for prepositional phrases, and there are two prepositional phrases. We have to his friends, put parentheses around that prepositional phrase. We have from the window, put parentheses around that prepositional phrase. Now we're going to see what kind of sentence is this. This is a statement, has a period, so it's a declarative sentence, and you need to put a D for declarative after that. Then we go straight to the verb. Put your slash mark in front of the verb, and this is dividing the complete subject from the complete predicate. The complete subject is very short, just one word. And so now we're going to underline the simple subject and simple predicate. The simple subject is he. The simple predicate is the verb, which is yelled. Okay, so he is underlined once, yelled is underlined twice, and we are done with that sentence. All right, so we're going to do the next one, but this one I'm just going to ask the questions. You are going to mark it yourself, and then you can check your answers later. All right, number 2. His crazy dog jumped over the fence in the middle of the night. All right, what jumped? Go ahead and mark it. What did dog do? What is over? Over what? What is in? In what? What is of? Of what? We're going to go back to the middle, or the beginning of the sentence. We skipped some words. Whose dog? What kind of dog? Then we have 3, and I'll just tell you this because you know it. You have 3 article adjectives, all the word the, T-H-E, or the. All right, mark your sentence pattern. Say check. What are you checking for? Go ahead and check. What kind of sentence is this? Go straight to the verb. Put your slash mark. Now mark the simple subject and a simple predicate. Okay, you're all done with sentence 2. Sentence 3. The actor's stunt car went over the edge of the cliff. Right? What went over the edge of the cliff? What did car do? Okay, what is over? Over what? Of. Of what? What kind of car? Whose car? Then just mark your article adjectives. Your sentence pattern. Check. Mark your prepositional phrases. What kind of sentence is this? Go over to the verb. Put your slash mark. Underline the simple subject and the simple predicate. And you are done with number 3. All right, so you're going to take some time in a little bit to look at the answer key that I've enclosed, and you can check your answers to make sure they're the same as my answers. All right, that's all we're doing there. Well, another thing we're going to do today is we are going to talk about the different parts that you might find in books. What might you find at the front of books? What might you find at the end of books? Now, not all books have all the parts in the front or the back. It really depends on what kind of book it is. But would you please look at your reference section, and it's reference 48 and 49. It's your very last reference of your book. All right, I have some books here that have some of these parts. They don't have all of them, but they do have some of them. So let's start with the parts that are in front of a book. And these are good to know because when you are looking at a book, when you're looking for certain information in the book, it's nice to know where to find it or how to find it. And that is the reason that we do this. That's the reason we learn what's in the front of the book and what's in the back of the book, right? So I have a book here that, maybe some of you have already seen before. It's a history book, and I know that they use this at Science Etc., so you have probably seen this book. And I'm going to use this book because it has a lot of the parts. It doesn't have all of them, but it has a lot of the parts. So let's look up here at reference 48. In reference 48, it says, one of the first parts that it has is a title page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this book. It's just at the very front of the book. Okay, here's a picture of the title page. And the title page has just exactly what it says. It has the title of the book. It has the name of the author, and in this case it has the who's the illustrator. It also, if you see at the bottom, it has the publisher. All right, so this is the title page. This gives you a lot of information about the book, right? So then we go to number 2, which is the copyright page, and that's a few pages over. Well, it's usually just 1 page over. Sometimes it's more than 1 page over. In this case, it was 1 page over. Okay, it's right here. And the copyright page, you can see right up here this symbol. It's a C that has a circle around it. That's the copyright date, and that's the date that said this work was by this author and nobody can copy it. All right, nobody can say it's their work. That's what the copyright date means. So this copyright date was 2005. has all kinds of other things on there. It has where you might find it in the different libraries, what subjects you might want to look under. Here's some ISBN numbers and things like that. Okay, so that's the copyright page. Now we have the preface. Sometimes the preface is called an introduction. I believe in this book it's called the foreword. Let me find it. It has a list. Yeah, here we go. It's called the foreword, and it's just a few pages back. It's also at the beginning. The foreword of a book, or the introduction of the book, usually is something that's written that tells what the book is about, maybe, or it tells a little bit of background of the book. It might tell a little background of the author. It kind of gives you some nice information to know at the beginning before you start reading the book, so that you can get a little bit more out of the book. Okay, that's the foreword. Sometimes the foreword has some things that another author is writing about this book, or another person. It doesn't have to be an author, another person who's writing about this book. Sometimes it has that in it. All right, then we have the table of contents, and you all know what the table of contents is because we've gone through that a lot in some of your other classes. But the table of contents is at the beginning, pretty close to the beginning also, and it has all it has is the title of the chapters. So here, chapter 1, the title is Britain's Empire, and then it has some different things that are in that chapter, and it has what page over here that you'll find those things on. Okay, so you know, if you want to find out something about the American Civil War, you would just jump straight to this one. You wouldn't have to read the whole book to find out. You would just jump straight to chapter 5, which is the American Civil War, and then you'd see what page. Okay, I'll go to page 49. All right, so that's why the table of contents is very useful. It tells you what all's in the book, but it also helps you find something quickly if you need to. Okay, so then we have the body of the book, and that's just the rest of the book. That's what the book is about. Okay, so the 5 parts that we have are the title, the copyright page, the preface or the introduction. Excuse me. We have our table of contents, which is number 4, and then we have the body, which is the main part of the book. Okay, so now we have those 5 parts of a book. And when you come to your homework and it says, what are the 5 parts at the beginning of the book, then you'll know that that's what those are. If you can't remember, then just go to your reference, number 48, and there they are, right there in front of you. You can just find that, okay? All right, so now we have the ending of a book. Okay, we're going to use one book for the ending, and then we're also going to go back to this one because it has one of the good ones in it. The endings of the book often have 4 parts. Now, not all books have all 4 parts. The 4 parts that are talked about are most often in informational books, or they're in nonfiction books. If you're just going to read a novel or a fun story, a fiction book, it won't have all these parts in them. So this is mostly for nonfiction books. So let's look at reference number 49. And it has something called an appendix in it. Now, I don't have a book right now in front of me that has an appendix, but all an appendix is something that's an added thing. Actually, this one that we read, it has an appendix, sort of, but it's not at the end of the book. Here it has, and I'll show it to you, it has it has table of illustrations, okay? Table of illustrations. It tells you what illustrations are in the book. It tells you what maps are in the book. Okay, here's a table of maps that are in the book. Okay, and an appendix is extra information. If you want to go find a chart about something, if you want to go find, like maps and things like that, that's an appendix. And it's usually at the end of the book. In this one, it was at the beginning. Then we have a glossary. A glossary is like a dictionary, but it's much, much smaller. I'm going to use this book because this has a good glossary in the back of it. A glossary is a very small dictionary that has only the words in it that you might need to know while reading this book. So this book is about volcanoes and earthquakes. So you might want to know what a fault is. You might want to know what a hot spot is. You might want to know what a mantle is. You know, those kinds of things. So that's what you would find in the glossary. Now, if you were looking for a math term, you wouldn't find it in this book, okay? You'd have to go to a math book to find that. Or if you wanted to find a geography term, you wouldn't find it in a science book. You'd have to go to a geography book to find that, okay? So the glossary only has words in it that are in that book that you're reading. Then we have something called a bibliography. And a lot of times when an author is writing a book about something like volcanoes and earthquakes, they can't just come up with it in their heads. They've got to read themselves. You know, they've got to read books and they've got to get information and all that so that they can pull it all together and write a nice little article or a nice little book about a certain subject. But they have to give credit to everybody that they have gotten information from. That's called the bibliography. So if you go to a bibliography, you can see the list of all the books and all the articles and all the magazines and all the everywhere that the author of that book has gone to get information. Okay, so that is the bibliography. Then we have the index, and that is something that you probably will use a lot. I use the index a lot in books, and this one has a really good index. It's in the back, of course, that's what we're studying. And an index is just a list of things. It's alphabetical. It's alphabetical, and if there is a subject in this book, or if you've read something and you remember reading a little bit about it, but you can't remember where in the book it was, you just look back in the index, find that thing, that whatever subject you were looking for, and it'll tell you what page in the book to find it. So if you were looking for, here's one that's Alexander the Second. Well, there's something in here about Alexander the Second, and you're going, oh my goodness, I can't go through all this book and find Alexander the Second. So you go back to the index, you find Alexander the Second, and you find out, it's on pages 22 and 23, and it's also on page 147. So that is what's so great about an index. All right, so the four parts of the end of the book are the appendix and the glossary and the bibliography and the index. All right, you can do the same thing as I said with the other one. If you get to your homework and it asks you for the four parts at the end of the book, you go, oh man, I knew they were going to say that, but I don't remember what it is. Just go back to your reference 49 and it will tell you. And you probably have it on your quiz, on your test at the end. So be sure that you know it by then, okay? So that's important. Okay, so that's all we're going to do on that. Now we're going to talk about something else that has a little bit more to do with our regular grammar, and it's called quotations. We're going to talk about something called direct quotations. Do you know what a direct quotation is? When you're quoting someone, and a direct quotation is exactly the words that they have said. So, if you say, Jack said, boy, it's hot outside. And what he said was, the direct quotation is, boy, it's hot outside. Okay, you wouldn't say, Jack said. There is a certain way to write quotations, direct quotations, and it's very important because they're pretty solid rules about how to do a quotation, and I am going to show you what I mean. I have some sentences here. Here's one of them. It says, "Where are you going?" Mom asked. Now, what is it exactly that Mom said, or what did she ask? She asked, "Where are you going?" That's the direct quotation. Now look at this. It's kind of, oh, let me get over here where you can actually see it. Okay, look at this, and you can see on where. Here's where are you going? See right here. This. Oh, let me do it. Here is the quotation mark. That's the two lines that do this, and then in going, there's the other one. When you have quotation marks around something, that means everything inside it is the direct quotation. That's exactly what that person's saying. So that's exactly what what's mom is saying. Now I need to ask you some other things. Can you notice some other things about this? When you are writing a quotation, except for one exception, and I'll talk about that later, at the beginning of the quotation, it's always capital, always, always, okay? Where are you going? Mom asked. That is capitalized. Even if it's in the middle of a sentence, and I'll show you about that in a little bit, okay? Capital. The punctuation mark comes before the quotation mark. See, this question mark is right here. It's before the quotation mark. So those are the two things you need to remember in a direct quotation. Well, three, because you have to put your quotation marks around what the person said. It has to have a capital at the beginning, and whatever punctuation mark you're using has to be inside the quotation mark. And then, of course, you put your other punctuation at the end of the sentence. All right, that's one way. I'm going to get you another one, and it's the same kind of thing exactly. It's just different words. I am going outside to ride my bike, replied Michael. What is Michael saying exactly? He's saying, I am going outside to ride my bike. So that is where you put the quotation marks. Here's the quotation mark to begin with, and then here's the end of the quotation mark. And everything inside it is what he said. Now the word I is always capitalized, so that would be capitalized anyway. But even if it wasn't supposed to be, since it's the beginning of a quotation, it is capitalized. And then over here, we don't have a question mark because it's not a question. He's telling somebody something. So we have a comma, and then we have our quotation marks. See what I mean? It's inside. The comma is inside the quotation marks. Then we finish to say who said it, replied Michael, and that's the end of your sentence. So that's where you put your period. All right? We're going to give you a different kind of sentence, but it's also a quotation. This one starts with the person who said it. Julie said, I want to go too. All right, now this is just a tad different. The quotation is written the same way, almost. But her exact words are, I want to go too. So that's what's inside the quotation marks, okay? There's a quotation mark right here. That's at the beginning of what she said. There's a quotation mark here. That's at the end of what she said. And so that is the exact quotation. Now, since this is the end of the sentence, there's nothing after it, then we're going to put a period right here. But it still goes inside the quotation mark. Now, the thing that's different about this sentence is, as Julie said, that's at the beginning of the sentence rather than at the end of the sentence. You need to put a comma after what she said. All right? Julie said, comma, then you write your quote with all the correct rules, the quotation marks, capital letter, and then the end mark inside. All right? We have one more, and this is the exception that I was talking about as far as capitals. And this is when somebody is saying something, and there's a little interruption in the middle, but then they're saying they continue with the same sentence afterwards, and this is what I mean. She says, please make your bed, Mom said, before you go out to ride your bike. So if you take out the Mom said part, it would say, please make your bed before you go out to ride your bike. It's all one sentence. but it's written. But when you have the word, when you have mom said to interrupt it, then it's a little bit different. But first of all, let's look at the first part. Please make your bed. It's the same thing as always. You have your quotation marks around what she said, capital letter, comma in front of the quotation mark. Then mom said, but since it's the same sentence that she was saying before, it's not a new sentence. It's just an interruption of the sentence that she was saying. You don't have to put a capital there. That's the only time. So if the way you can test it out is you can take mom said out. Please make your bed before you go out to ride your bike. All right, so that tells you that's all one sentence. So this does not have to be capital, but this still has to be, the period still has to be inside the quotation mark. Okay, that doesn't change. Any questions? If you do, ask your mom, since I can't answer them right now with you. All right, so there you go. There's your quotations. Now we're going to make a page, composition page. It's going to be 2 pages, so you're going to have to cut yourself 2 pages. 7 inches wide by 9.5 inches tall. Okay, your page is going to look like this. I do have in your packet the exact page, so you can just copy it right onto your pages. Now, and the thing is, okay, on the page here, this page right here, it has everything on it that I just said. On this page right here, it has the sentences on it that I just did. All right, so there's nothing new on that page. I don't have to really go through that whole thing with you again. This side is the rules of what you do as far as quotations and punctuation and all that. And then this side is the examples of those rules. Okay, so you can have some time to work on that. Okay, so that's all we're doing for grammar. How about that? I am going to tell you, before we go to our spelling, I need to mention to you that in your packet here, you have a narrative paragraph that you're supposed to write, and I am going to tell you, and I told the other class too, you don't have to do that this week. Just skip the narrative paragraph. You've been doing a lot of writing lately, and you don't need to be doing the narrative paragraph, all right? So just cross that out. Of course, if you really want to do it, I would love to read it, but you sure don't have to, okay? So you can skip that for this week anyway. All right, let's go to our spelling. And I'm going to say the words. You can say them after me or with me, whichever you like. So let's go ahead and start. Ghost, neighbor, high, new, not, unknown, rewrap, wrong, written, wrapper, unwrap, climb, limb, gnaw, gnat, knife, new. What do you notice about a lot of these words? They have silent letters in them, don't they? Number 17, new, is G and U. What's up with that? Okay, that's different than N-E-W, and you're gonna have to look it up to find out what that word means, okay? And tell your mom when you know. Okay, and I think you know what a knife is. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'd like you to take your highlighter, and I'd like you to go through each of the words, and if it has a silent letter in it, some of them have more than one silent letter. If it has a silent letter or more, highlight the silent letters. Highlight the letters that you cannot hear. You have some other words that have prefixes. Now, do you remember what a prefix is? It's a word part that you put at the beginning of a word, and it changes the meaning of the word. You really only have 2 prefixes in your list words this week. One is un, U-N, and that means not. So if you have a word like unknown, All that means is not known. All right, so if you put that prefix "un" in front of it, it means not. Then you have the prefix "re," which means again. So if you rewrite something, you write it again. It's easy as that. So would you please go ahead and get your highlighter, look through your words, and highlight all the prefixes "un" and all the prefixes "re." And that is all you have for this week. So you can go ahead and work on your packet, and then you'll be done, and I will see you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.